And hi, this is Chris from Lambda School. This is going to be CS8's first brown bag session. The first person going will be Sarah. So take it away.
Hey everyone. Let me get my screen share. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to see Slack, so, okay, so I made a little video, and I'm going to talk while the video plays. So do any of you guys have kids you can put in Slack, and I'll peek at it? If a lot of you do, I'm just wondering. I do, as you know. So I started thinking about how I could help my kids get ready for their future and learn to code and do all that kind of stuff. Alex is going to talk here, so let me know if you can hear him.
I am Alex. I'm 5 years old, and I'm in kindergarten.
What was your favorite part of the Minecraft coding hour?
The gas one.
Do you think you want to learn more about computers?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, so as I was thinking about how I could help them prepare for the world that we're moving into, I was looking for things, and I found this Hour of Code program. And Michael's going to talk, and then I'll have more time to talk.
Okay, Michael, what was your favorite part of the Minecraft coding hour?
When we did the gas one.
Do you think that you'd want to learn more about computers? Thank you.
Okay, so as I was learning about this program, I discovered that its aim is to introduce learners of all ages to computer science, especially focusing on children. As you can see, though, they do say ages 4 to 104. I guess 105, just forget it. But typically, they encourage these Hour of Code demonstrations to take place during December, but the resources are available all year, so you can do them whenever. My kids are nuts about Minecraft, so we did the Minecraft coding challenge. So why this is kind of interesting to me, I'm from a really large family. I have 28 nieces and nephews between the ages of 30 and 6 months, and then I have the 2 boys, Alexander and Michael. And I was thinking about their school, and I learned that only 40% of US schools have curriculum with computer programming, and that's like shocking to me. We know how important this stuff is. We know that our kids need this education. The jobs in the future are going to be in computer programming. They're going to have to know it. So this is an initiative to get more kids to code. I have notes over here that I'm reading because I get nervous if I talk in front of everybody. So between 2016 and 2026, computer science jobs are expected to grow by almost 600,000 and account for over half the growth expected for the entire STEM field. So, I mean, that's obvious how important this is. Oh, also, I want to point out here, Riley's going to talk, and then I will point out things.
I am Riley, and I'm 6, and I'm in 1st grade.
What was your favorite part of the Minecraft coding hour?
When we got to do the free one.
Yeah. Do you think that you'd like to learn more about computers?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so what I wanted to point out is that you can see the kids working. They naturally go to pair programming. They naturally go to a cooperative teamwork approach. In this group of kids, the oldest one, Michael, is the only one who can actually read. And Riley is really good at like spatial awareness and math and that kind of stuff. They really fed off of each other and used each other's strengths to figure this out. Alexander is only in kindergarten, but he was still able to feel like he had completed the entire challenge because he was working with the other kids. I think it's great to see that in practice, something that we talk about here, and see how it like even little kids can do it. We could ask them to. We could totally ask them to do a pair program for us. I thought it was really great in this program. It was like a video game, and they told the kids what to do. And then they also showed the actual JavaScript that was making those things happen. In it, the kids were able to use functions and loops, and those were both defined for them. And it was in a way that they could grasp and really understand. Even when they got frustrated, like here, Michael is pretty upset. It only took a minute to come over, explain a concept to him, and then move on. And obviously, we're not teaching kids JavaScript or React. Like, I can't even imagine how difficult that would be. But they can learn the concepts and they can learn programming logic so that as they grow, they're able to put those skills to use, and like coding will be so much easier. Imagine if you had already learned programming logic when you were 5. It's really great to see them be able to do that. Let's see. So as well as, one thing I was worried about when I wanted to do this with the kids was I really want to make sure that things are accessible to anybody, that they're able to use them even if they, like, it's important for kids to have these skills even if they might not have access to a computer. And the website has paper and pen exercises, card games, all kinds of things that they can use if that's not an option or if they need to share their resources. Let's see here. Oh, I also wanted to show you guys these. These are some other games and stuff that my kids have. This board game, Robot Turtles, is so fun. You set you basically make a little maze for the turtles to go through, and the kids have to use programming logic and loops to get them to their destination. They play it like all the time. It's ridiculous.
Hey, what's your name? Did you like the Minecraft coding hour? Did you have fun? Did you like the computer? Yep.
That's RJ. He's my best friend. Yeah, Robot Turtles is super fun. I play it. There's levels of difficulty. You can put obstacles. My 7-year-old can make mazes for my 5-year-old, and Alexander can make mazes that Michael has trouble with too. It's a great thing, and it's not expensive. And you might, if you have kids, libraries in the United States got Robot Turtles and can rent it out. So check with your local library. And then Code Monkey. This one is not quite as accessible because it does have a fee, but schools are using it. My son's school has started using it. And it's the same basic thing. Teach kids to code through coding logic and exercises that they'll think of as games. And I think that's about it. That's all I have for you guys. This goes on for a while, but it's more just Riley picking her nose, as you can see. So, oh, and my friend Steve, my best friend, did the video for me. He's amazing. So I want to say thank you to him. He's not here, but still. And then were there any questions, I guess?
Yeah, so you have one question. Liz asked, what was the hardest part of getting them into it, and how did you overcome this?
Okay. The hardest part of getting them into this is my 7-year-old right here, Michael. He is really too cool for his mom. He is sure that he's better than me at everything. So I bribed him with $5, not gonna lie. And other than that, it looks like a game. When they're playing it, it's their Minecraft characters they know. It's the things that they're already used to. There's a Moana one that's really fun. Star Wars ones. Michael's gone through and done like 7 or 8 of them now. But they're fun. You guys should definitely check them out. I don't know how to stop screen share. Oh, there it is. I'm done.
Okay, sounds good. Is there any other questions for Sarah that you guys have? So I have a quick question. How did you find this? You know, like I know you said that you kind of wanted to think about how to get them into, you know, computer science and everything. How did you find specifically this program? You're muted though.
My best friend, who was kind of there, but she was off to the side, is a public school teacher. And she told me about it. I'm going to help her class get set up with the program. She teaches a pre-K class. So that is how I found out. And she found out from her superintendent.
Nice. That's really cool. All right. Let's see. Are there any other questions, guys? The robot turtle. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's really cool. I wish I learned computer science stuff when I was 5, you know, but oh well. All right, guys. So celebratory emoji for Sarah. So everybody drop a celebratory emoji for Sarah on the comment right there. Awesome. So up next is Caitlin. And yeah, I'll just let you take it away. Go for it.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Caitlin. Today, I'm actually going to be going over a little bit of VS Code stuff. This is my first time using VS Code. I used to use Sublime Text 3, but I really like it, and I wanted to see if there were features that I didn't know about, or things that could make our lives easier, and so I decided a great opportunity to do that would be to present it to a bunch of people. So here we go. I actually created a little repo with resources for everybody if you want to go check it out, because I'm going to be following through it for right now. Let me share my screen, and then we will take off. Okay. So the first thing I want to go over, and this may, I apologize if it's a little tedious, I'm just trying to be thorough, is that I want to go over the basic functionality, what we're looking at when we open VS Code. So let's say we just start with nothing. Let's do this. Okay, so this, if you haven't opened anything or nothing opens up automatically, you get this welcome screen. What's very interesting is if you come down here, they actually have an interactive playground that you can open that'll take you through a whole lot of really interesting things that maybe you didn't notice about VS Code. The multi-cursor editing is something that I think is really amazing, but I haven't quite found the opportunity to use. So usually I just like to play with it. You like Shift Alt down, and then you have a whole bunch of cursors moving around, and you can do things on multiple lines, which is super cool. Anyway, so I highly recommend at least kind of just skimming through this. It has a lot of really interesting functionality there. So, but I'm going to go back to my repo here. Okay, so I have these icons on the left, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it because we've been using it for a while. So I'll try to explain things that you might not have noticed. So this is the File Explorer. You have a section for your open editors. You have a section for the actual folder that you're working in. Maybe you guys have only been opening files and not adding folders, but a really cool functionality of VS Code is you can open an entire folder, and then, so instead of clicking away in, I'm just going to click there and hit OK, and then I can actually navigate in and around through the folder. I don't know. Okay, so things that you can do from here. You can close all of your open editors, and so now you're just back to nothing. Let's say I open a bunch for editing, and then I make some sort of small change in this one, and I make a small change down here. You can actually save them both all at the same time. Click there. This is interesting. So you can actually open up your split screen editor, and you can change the direction. So let's say I wanted to do something on the top and on the bottom, or I wanted to switch them from being on the right and on the left. You do that. These little M's down here, these just signify that something has been modified. So that'll lead us into one of the other areas of VS Code. Okay, so I'm gonna ignore this. I'm gonna close. I actually don't use split screen very often, but it's, oh no, you can keep splitting. Okay, so unsplit, close all editors. Okay, so that leads to this search function. So the next one is search. You can do search and replace. Basically, the best thing that I found out about this is you can actually use regular expressions to search for things. So I am not good at regular expressions, so you'll have to bear with me. I think if you search for that, it'll basically highlight every single letter ever, and then you can replace them all, or you can do just numbers. But it's an interesting functionality that I didn't realize was in there. So that highlights all the numbers. Maybe you're just looking for numbers. Maybe you want to change all your numbers to 3. I don't know. You can do that. There's also a check down. So let's say I want to look through all of these files. I want to find every instance of some sort of class or whatever. Like I want to know where's every instance of file component. I don't think I have a file component, so it's not going to show me anything, but it's a good example. Component. And I can say, okay, I want to only include, you know, my index.js or whatever. You can enter. It's not going to find it, but you can tell it what to look for and what to ignore, which is really powerful. Okay, so next leads me to my favorite one, which is the integrated Git system for VS Code. I don't know if you guys have been using it, but it's super awesome. So I made a couple of changes, which you can see, they were the fake changes that I made before. I double clicked on them, and so now it actually brings up a split screen window to show me this is the change I made to this file. And this is the original file. I can commit this change, or I can stage it rather. I can stage this change. I can discard this change. I can open the file that the change occurred in. I'm going to just discard it for now because I don't actually need that change. But if I open the second one, same thing. It shows me the change. This one I'm going to commit just to show that I can do it. So I have changes staged. In my message section, I can say, added a small change. This check mark is commit. So now I've actually committed it to the repo on my local machine, and now I can actually push it to GitHub. So if you actually forked the, or if you cloned this to your machines, you could actually pull that change now because I've pushed it to GitHub. So super cool. Another thing you can do is you can create branches really easily. So if you click down here where it says master, you click create a new branch, or you can check out branches. So I think that's pretty cool. Now we get to the scariest part, which is the debugger. I'm not great with it. I've been trying to work with it more. It's challenging. Actually, the best example I can think of is I'm going to open, I'm going to open a React file. Okay, so in order to get the debugger to work, you actually have to give it an environment. We haven't actually gotten into extensions yet, but there's an extension called Debugger for Chrome, and I highly recommend it. So after you install that, you essentially have to create a configuration for Chrome, and it looks like this. It looks really scary, but essentially you're just pointing it at the right server location, and this auto-populates for you, and the only thing I changed was I changed this 3000. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to hit run. I don't think it's going to work actually because I haven't started it. Hold on. I don't think you're going to show me anything. No, you're not. Okay. I actually need to start the program. So this is the Instagram clone that we did, right? I'm still kind of working on. Okay. So this is it running. But the powerful thing is I'm going to launch this debugger by hitting this little play button. It runs the React app for me. It's running it now. I'm going to hit refresh, and it's going to pull in all of my all of my variables. It pulls in the call stack. So let's say that I was trying to get something to show up and it's just not working. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why. I'm going to use this as an example. I'm just going to break it. Okay. So I spelled that wrong now. I'm going to add a little breakpoint, which is this little red circle to the left of the number. Maybe, if you'll let me. Maybe. No, I need to stop the, oh, that's already running. Okay, so I'm going to add this, and then I'm going to hit debug. It launches it. I don't know if it's supposed to do this before you hit refresh or only afterwards. Every time I've ever gotten this to work, I had to hit this little refresh button. So now I can go into this post container. I'm in my post container component. I'm trying to look around and see what's going on. It automatically stopped down here. And so I can see a snapshot of the state of my project where I am right now. So the thing that I'm interested in is this props item. And I have this .props.data. For whatever reason, maybe my likes aren't showing up, but I can click down and I can actually see. So this is a lot like if you console logged whatever you were looking for. I can click down. I know I have data.comments, and here's all of these comments that are objects, et cetera, et cetera. So it can also be used for simpler non-React projects, which I will also show. That would be a little different because it's a different server. So I'm going to stop my debugger. I'm going to find out why this isn't. There we go. Go back to my other repo. Okay, so I created a silly little file to run. This leads into another extension that I've been using called Live Server. Basically what it does is it launches a local server to run your web page on, so your changes get, you can see your changes automatically. So in order to use this, you right click and you click open with Live Server. And so this is going to open this HTML page, which I broke earlier because I wanted to demonstrate something else. So it asks how many dogs do you have? 20. Obviously, it says this is a page full of cats, so our program is not working. One of the things I wanted to show was the super cool ability to highlight something. You can either right-click it and click Change All Occurrences, or you can use the keyboard shortcut, Control F2. But basically, this highlights everywhere on the page that that word appears, and you can replace them all or edit them all at once. So I'm going to change that to cats because cats are better. And then now the program is working. And it's just a silly program that slowly prints out pictures of my cat. This cat right there. Who's never very far away. Okay. So you can run the debugger on this as well now that the live server is running. It's going to be the same type of thing. The actual environment is a little bit different. I actually pointed it directly to the page that pops up. So if you look at this page, I just copied that and pasted it into the URL section. And so if I run this, it runs, I'm going to type in 15, because you know, nobody can have too many cats. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this and it's going to pull in my variables, hopefully, if it's working the way I want it to. Aren't you doing the thing? Do the thing. I had it working earlier, but of course it's not going to work now because there are people watching. I'm going to restart my live server. A lot of your extensions will actually put things down here, and so this is the live server a little bit. I'm going to do that again. And then I'm going to launch this. Maybe it will actually work this time. There we go. Okay. So if we look at this, we can see if I refresh, it should pull in my variables. Oh, still not working. That's one of the things that I've been struggling with this morning. It's not as easy as some of the debuggers I've used in the past, but I think that it can be really powerful if you get it configured correctly. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so this brings me to extensions. There are a lot of really cool extensions for VS Code. It's one of its awesomer traits. I have a list here of ones that I use that I find really useful, and I've separated them into passive extensions and active extensions. What I mean by a passive extension is it's just an extension that works without you having to memorize anything or do anything. Yeah, it's totally elite. That's why I put it. Okay. Works without you having to do anything. So the first one that I recommend is called Rainbow Brackets. I've heard other people mention it before, but it's super cool. It does this. So if I have brackets and I just keep nesting them, they just keep changing colors. And they change colors that it's very easy to know what level you're on. So that's Rainbow Brackets. Auto close tag. That is auto close tag. I think it's specifically for HTML. Yes. Okay. So basically what it does is it automatically closes your tags. So if you type in the opening bracket, it'll close it for you. So if I have body, it close body. If I have div, it'll close div, etc. That combined with auto rename tag means that what auto rename tag does is it'll actually go automatically into whatever your matching tag is, and you can change it. So like, let's say I'm deciding I want to work in Bootstrap, I don't want to use this div anymore, I'm just going to change it to a container tag. Although I have noticed it gets a little buggy for longer words, and sometimes it'll mischoose the matching one, but I've only started experiencing that when I started using React Strap, so I don't really know what to do about that. Otherwise, I find it to be like a godsend. I think it's great because I'm always changing divs and all those sorts of things. Prettier. I can't remember who mentioned it first. It might have been Josh. Prettier is really great. It just formats your document for you automatically. I actually use it in conjunction with a user setting. I don't know if you guys have messed with your user settings at all, but I will show you how to access them and to change them as soon as this pops up. Thank you. Okay, so you go into File, you go into Preferences, and you go into Settings. It's going to open up this really kind of scary looking dialog box with all of these commented out things and things.things. You can search for different settings. These are all the ones that I've overridden. The edit out, I think editor render white space was brought up somewhere. And you can choose to remove white space dots. So I actually have it so that for every white space, for every space bar, there is a dot, so I can count them and I know how many are in between, but you can change that. The one that I use with Prettier is called Format on Save. So in order to change a setting, you go down, you click this little pencil, and it will give you the options. I have Format on Save set to true. What this does is, let's say I've got some sort of really horrendous example file like this one where I decided to do a whole bunch of nonsense. I'm going to hit Control S and it's going to not automatically format to prove me wrong. Let me delete this. I'll use this one as an example. So like, let's say that I have a whole bunch of trailing spaces after this, or this if is up here, being all weird. If I hit Control S, it automatically fixes all of those things. So you can be coding along, you hit Control S, it formats things for you and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, HTML tag wrap. We're moving into more active extensions now, which means that you actually have to use them for them to actually be helpful. I use HTML tag wrap all of the time. So if I go into my HTML file, my example one, it's not a very complicated one because I just didn't make a very complicated project. But let's say I have a whole bunch of text, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh no, I completely forgot. I need to wrap this in a paragraph tag. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to hit Alt-W and it automatically Okay, paragraph tags are what they default to, but you can highlight it. Both of the things are selected. I can change it to an H1. And that tag has been wrapped, and it was really fast. So I use that all the time, and it's simple. HTML boilerplate is basically just a little code snippet. You type in HTML5 boilerplate, and then you select the little snippet that drops down. Let's do this. I type in HTML5, it actually shows as a little option, and then it auto-populates all of this boilerplate, so you never have to type it or look it up, which is nice. Okay. Let's see. What's the next one? Quokka. We've heard Quokka mentioned in the past. I just wanted to go over it a little bit for people that aren't super comfortable with it yet or haven't gotten it working maybe. I'm going to, okay, so Quokka is a JavaScript. It basically runs like a little, my understanding anyway, which could be completely wrong, is that it runs a little server in the background. So you just install it by going to the extensions, you search for Quokka, and you click it, you install it, and then you're not done though. What you have to do is you have to tell it what file you want it to run on, which is kind of the missing step there. You can either hit Control-Shift-P to bring up your command palette, or you can just go to View and click Command Palette. You start typing in Quokka, and then I usually choose Start on Current File. So what that's going to do now is now it's running. You can kind of see it running a little bit. It's giving me some errors because of the DOM manipulation stuff. But if I decided to do a console.log down here, yeah, I do Control-Q as well. But I just didn't this time. Sometimes it gives me trouble. I think I might have a keyboard shortcut that's overriding it. So if I do that and I save the file, it should show me my number of cats off to the side, unless it's just really unhappy about this inner HTML thing. Why aren't you working? I'm just gonna, okay. Ideally, maybe in a more normal, not DOM manipulating thing, it's more useful, because now it's just giving me more errors. So let's do it in test instead. So I can console. I mean, you've seen people use it before. So, and it just shows you whatever it would log out to the side. Maybe, there we go. So this is just a little printout of what the console would be receiving. Printing, okay. So that's Quokka. Now we went over debugger for Chrome a little bit. It's super great. It basically just connects your VS Code with the actual Chrome debugger, so you don't have to have them both open. But there's also React debugger for Chrome, which Ryan went over, which is great. We talked about live server a little bit. That's basically for your HTML files. React.js code snippets is one that I found this morning, and it's super cool. It basically gives you all of these tiny little snippets. So if I was to come in, I'm in this JS file, and I want to create a React component, all I have to do is type RCC, hit tab, and I have a React component. I can also do a React component for that has prop type checking already in it, and so this creates an empty React component, and it has the prop types. And when it creates it, it automatically highlights the component name, so I can change it to whatever I want, and it's done. I just have a component, and now I have to, fill out my render and do all of that stuff. So they have a lot of really cool little snippets, most of which I haven't internalized yet because it's just a bunch of three-letter things. But I think it's really great. You can actually do the component will mount method, and it will automatically component did mount is what we're using, right? Component did mount. You can do a this.state, maybe. I can't remember them because they're only 3 letters, but they're great. Oh, it's a set state. It's SST, not TS. So no, we're not gonna. Okay, SST. this dot set state, or you can do this dot set state with a function inside. I think that if you actually started to get to know which goes with which, it would be really powerful. So I'm trying to use that one. I think that might be the last of the giant list of extensions. Just a quick shout out to themes. I don't know if you guys have changed your colors yet. I like the base 16. It's essentially 16 different themes to choose from. And to change your color, you go up to File, you go to File, Preferences, and then Color Theme. The cool thing about VS Code is it actually lets you look at the themes to choose. So like you can just loop through them. All of these are base 16 themes, so you can kind of choose whichever one you want. Super old style hackery one or what have you. Very cool. And just choose whichever one's easiest on your eyes would be my suggestions. And I think I'm probably running out of time, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was keyboard shortcuts. I know a lot of people have differing opinions on these. I try not to switch from keyboard to mouse more than necessary. So I've included a bunch of keyboard shortcuts that are reasonably useful for what we do. There's Control-C, Control-X. Those are very well known, but there's also text maneuvering ones that I don't see people using very often. So like if I hold down Control and hit to the right, I'm skipping words. If you hit Control End, you go to the end of the page. If you hit Control Home, you go to the beginning of the page. Control Delete will actually delete the whole next word. Control backspace will delete the previous word. Yeah, I know. Like these are things that have totally existed forever, but no one uses them. I think they're awesome. So you can use those to make yourself faster, so you don't have to, keep typing over slowly. If I want to delete this entire word, I can do it. These are ones that work on almost every text editor. The control thing. So if I Control Shift, I've highlighted this whole word. Right? So that's cool. And then if you want to get to know your VS Code specific shortcuts, I've included the cheat sheets for each of the different operating systems, or you can look inside. Well, you have to do Command whatever on Mac instead of Control. But if you hit Control K and then Control S, it brings up this entirely long, a little bit overwhelming list of keyboard shortcuts. And so my recommendation is just to see where you're using a lot of time, if it's text maneuvering, moving between things, or deleting, or that sort of thing. Focus on those. Maybe just enter one at a time. Let's see, how do I get out of view? Oh. Let's see, there was one that I learned, it was like Control-Alt-K, which takes down an entire line, which is awesome. Maybe it's Control-Shift-K? Yeah, it's Control-Shift-K. It just deletes an entire line. And I don't know, it changed my life forever. So, okay. Okay, and then I actually discovered this website called Shortcut Foo, and it's pretty great, if it will load, maybe. It's essentially, it just gamifies learning keyboard shortcuts. So they actually have the Visual Studio. They've got a bunch of other text editors. They have the command line. They actually have language specific ones, which are great. But they work by doing repetitive, knowledge building. So they'll bring you back to an old lesson in the next week, and then they'll wait 4 weeks, and then a month or a couple months. So just to show you the different shortcuts. So it's pretty cool. You actually have to fight little ninjas. I don't know these well enough, but you have to, yeah, this is the fight. They actually do the part that teaches you as well. So if you have any interest in just getting some practice, but you're afraid that you won't get the opportunity to use it when you are actually coding, this is a fun thing to do if your brain is tired of other things. So, okay, I think that's about it for me. I will probably stop talking. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yep. It doesn't look like too many questions. That's like really awesome because I wish I knew half of that stuff. Definitely like I didn't even know how to skip numbers. Oh, I mean skip words. Like I just rather quick, but I'm gonna use that because that's really awesome.
Well, it's just one of those things. If you're going to be working with a computer for the next 40 years, it's like learning to walk. You just have to try to get a little faster at it. And I like using keyboard shortcuts, so I thought it might be useful for other people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, eventually we're going to live forever, right? Because in the next 40 years, they'll have technology that will keep us alive. So yeah, definitely look up at the keyboard shortcuts. If you're running Linux, sometimes some of them won't map correctly depending on your distro, but like I actually had to remap my copy up and down a line, which is interesting. I did it, and that's actually a super cool one. If I hit Control-Shift-Alt and then I hit D, it actually just keeps copying this line down. So if I'm printing a whole bunch of strings, or I used it earlier when I was trying to like get all the data from the Star Wars API, it copies, and then you can just fill in the stuff that's missing. So yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to actually make it part of your workflow, but once you do, I think you'll see some good returns. So yeah, that's exactly true. I tried doing that earlier and I decided not to mess with it anymore because the alt-click thing wasn't working for me either. So awesome. Any other questions? Awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys learned something. I mean, it's a lot of information, but I kept getting excited and so I kept adding more. So I will stop sharing my screen now. Thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. That was pretty awesome. Like I said, I'm even gonna use that stuff. So drop your celebratory emoji for Caitlin on the message that I gave for you. So last but not least at all, we have Josh, and he's gonna give us his brown bag. And take the floor. Go for it.
So first, this is a little impromptu. And so bear with me and enjoy the green on green here. And I know we're a little pressed for time, so I'm going to jump around quite a bit. I may lose you. I'll try to bring you back in. So I'm going to go over 2 items today, using GitHub Pages and building the apps that we've been making with Create React App. And we haven't gone over actually building our apps yet. Thus far, we've been building them kind of locally and starting a local development server and looking at those and then pushing those changes up. And then our TAs may come in and download those and then do the same thing, run the local development server, and they can see what's going on. But you can actually use GitHub for free hosting to publish your apps out there, so you can either show it off or test some things in a more kind of production environment, because that's actually what you're doing with the build command and create app. Is it's creating an optimized build of your application. So I'm actually going to get that going right now. That's kind of the first step. It's going to take a minute to go through and build everything, and we're going to come back to that. So while that's going, and that was just simply npm run build if you're still using npm. And while that's going, let's talk about GitHub Pages. So up until this point, all of our projects have mostly been, well, a lot of our previous projects have included like index.html, pretty much websites that we kind of looked at locally. Well, GitHub Pages allow you to take all those repo files and instantly create a live website out there on the internet. So that's kind of what I've been including when I publish my pull request, is a link to a hosted website. I've been using my own server and own URL here, but alternatively, you could use GitHub Pages to do the same thing for free, and it will automatically update with any kind of new changes that you push. So now our GitHub, or our Create React App build is done. I've got some errors in there, kind of left those on purpose. I wanted to let you see what all is going on. A lot of this is similar to if you were saving it in a normal state. But if we look down here, it's going to state that this project was built assuming that you're wanting to host it. and it's saying that we could add a homepage item in our package.json. And that's the first step, and it even mentions github.io. That's the first step that we can quickly deploy this to our GitHub page. So it says, let's see, homepage. So that simply means we need to go into our package.json, and I'm going to be using the project that we're working today, the stretch problem, the React app that we're creating, and we're going to get this hosted on there. So we're just going to create our homepage, a new homepage entry in our JSON file, and then it's simply your GitHub username.github.io, and then it's going to be the repo name. So I believe that is Sprint Challenge React. I'm just going to get that pasted in there, make sure that looks good, and make sure we get our little comma. I kind of got things squished here. Let me get our command back up. So now we've got that added. There's a few other things that we need to do to really get this going, because there's other commands that kind of run in the background. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to go over what all those do. But now that we have that JSON entry completed as requested by the build command, there's another plugin that we can use with React that is GitHub Pages. And I'm just going to kind of copy and paste it in here because we don't have the time. But I'm going to install GitHub Pages. Now, what this will do is this will work with the build command and create a separate, distinct branch in your repo specifically for building, compiling your project, and hosting it on there. And one thing I haven't gone over yet, what happens when we build? So this is the directory that's kind of housing today's work that I've done. Within that, build is going to take all of your node modules, your public information, your package JSON descriptions, which includes all of the React add-ons that you've done. Notice I have React Strap listed here and React Moment. I'm using that for an item. And that's going to compress it all down into a nice, clean, static version of your project. And GitHub Pages is going to take that build, instead of looking at your normal directory, it's going to take what you have actually built, the compressed, compiled version, and it's going to publish that to that new branch. So I just installed our GitHub Pages, and since we are pressed for time, I'm going to do a quick kind of cheat here. We're going to go in here and make a kind of a double script. We're going to make a new script within our package JSON, just so this will automatically run our GitHub Pages for us, so we don't go over time. So we're going to run our build, and we're also going to run GitHub Pages at the same time. Sorry if this is a little confusing at the moment, and I'm happy to go over what's going on, and you can actually run these commands independently. I'm just doing this to save some time. So now that I've created a new script here, script item, we're just going to run that npm run deploy. So this deploy command is now going to build our React app and then push it to GitHub Pages. And that's something we haven't looked at yet, but we'll get to see that. We're going to let this build and go on. We'll push that to the side and go ahead and just look at our repo. So within our repo, if you go underneath settings, there's a little section down here on the main options discussing GitHub Pages. Now, it looks like my applications or my scripts already skipped ahead, but within that, it's going to give you an option. Let's say you had a static project from week 1. You could actually go in here and configure your source for all this and turn this on so it'll work. In this case, the reason why we're doing all of this for our React applications is so that it builds it out so it's ready to host, so you don't have to have any kind of local servers. So GitHub Pages, the script I ran automatically configured GitHub Pages to use the new GitHub Pages branch and it automatically published it. It's still running, so we're going to give that a minute to finish. If we notice what it said here, the build folder is ready to be deployed. And then our script automatically published it for us. And it looks like we're ready to go. So now if we go to my GitHub username, .github.io, and the repo name, we will see a hosted version of the last build of my React app. And if some of y'all notice, I did that earlier today with the Instagram, the last Instagram build that we did. And this was a live view of how I got my current Sprint Challenge application out and hosted on the internet. So now if you wanted to share this with someone, let's say kind of like with the Instagram one, let's say I got some good progress, or if I just wanted to quickly show my TA without having to share my screen or something, kind of show them the progress that I've made, you can share that hosted version of it. Alternatively, if you do have your own hosting, you can run that same npm build command and just take the files that you have in this build folder and FTP it onto your web server. And I think we're kind of closing at the end of the time. Again, I'm sorry that we ran so quickly there over a lot of things. And yeah, I guess I can move on to questions or more demonstrations of what I've gone over. Yeah, Surge is great too. I like using GitHub because I don't have to deal with any additional repos. But if you've got a good workflow, it's not going to, cost you any time to use Surge. I just like to keep it all condensed, definitely for projects like this, and it's very helpful in the sense with Lambda School, because this URL here is directly linked to that repo, and it's targeting that specific branch. So it's all kind of self-contained on GitHub.
That's really awesome, man. Like, I'm going to use this. I've probably used GitHub Pages once since I've done programming. So,
no. So are you only allowed one page at a time? That if you're wanting to host a full-fledged website, you are allowed one page at a time. But to my knowledge, let me see here. If you're just hosting a project site, you can host as many as you want. So I think they're referring to like joshuagoo.github.io. If I may stand corrected, but I have multiple sites up right now. I have our latest Sprint Challenge that I've done, as well as Instagram, and I have some of my previous HTML, just basic HTML stuff from week 1 and 2, as well on GitHub Pages. So as long as it's a project, and I think they go over it on here, kind of goes over into more detail, you can choose and allow any of your repos to do that. But yeah, definitely, Chris. It's pretty cool. I think it's a great thing to get students in a habit of actually like publishing and deploying their work, not just React applications, but even like the static stuff. And it can at least allow, you definitely may want to go in and explore the code a little bit more, but can allow for a quick view without having to start the server or anything, just to kind of analyze the design and kind of the work that's been done up to this point.
Yep, definitely. Especially when you guys get into deployment, which is many weeks from now. Not too many, but all the weeks that feel like the same when you're doing everything. You guys will get into deployment, but yeah, I can't remember. I don't think they told us about GitHub deployment. I could be absolutely wrong in that, but once again, that was a long time ago. But awesome, yeah. I mean, do you guys have any other questions for Josh? This is a great presentation. Sorry it was so condensed in the last minute.
Hey. Needs help setting that up or understanding some of the things that I did with the scripts and stuff. You don't have to go and do some of the crazy things I did. You definitely have to have the home page information in your JSON. But the npm run build command, when you're using that within the Create React app, is very helpful, and they'll hold your hand telling you the things that you need to do in order to get that live on GitHub Pages. Cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. So it's the end of the brown bag. I'll stop.